Hey guys, Dara here from Dara E Designs. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to be making this fun little card here, Hello Friend, and I'm going to be using some of the new brushes that I've just gotten that are all the rage right now. They're called the Life Changing Blender Brushes by Picket. And to start with, as you can see, I'm starting with a regular card base size piece of cardstock at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I've just taken a little bit of Pixie Spray and put a little bit of it on the back of this stencil. The stencil I'm using today is by Tailored Expressions, and it's the double diamond. So if you've never used Pixie Spray, you just take a little bit of the spray and lightly run it across the back of the stencil about 12 inches away, and it just applies a little bit of adhesive, just enough that it's going to stick to the card, and that way we don't have to use washi tape or anything else to keep that stencil in place. Now that our stencil is adhered to our cardstock, I'm just going to go in with a little bit of Distress Oxide inks. The color I'm using here today is Abandoned Coral, and I'm just taking my Life Changing Blender brush, adding a little bit of ink to it, and very lightly adding an even layer of color all the way across our cardstock. Now what I really like about these blender brushes is that I can apply an even amount of pressure and color across my projects. In the past, I found it very hard not to be too heavy-handed with inks, and just not really liking the outcome I had. So I have found that I really am able to have more control of how much color goes on a project, and I don't have to use quite as heavy of a hand. Alright, so you can see that I almost have this cardstock covered in a thin layer of ink, and after I've completed that, I'm just going to go in and add more ink and more color to the right side of our project. I want it to kind of fade or look like it fades to a lighter color, and so as you can see here, I'm just kind of working my way into making that darker on one side so that it kind of fades very lightly. So this takes a little bit of time. I'm going to kind of speed the video up here in just a second, and then we'll magically have completed our blending. So once we're happy with how dark to light our blending is, we can peel up that stencil. It's going to come right off, no tearing or anything. It's really cool how that spray can give such a light tack that it will stick and not tear at the same time. Now I'm going through and adding a few droplets of water on the card, and because it's Distress Oxide ink, it's going to add a little bit of discoloration to it and just give it a little bit of subtle detail, and so I thought that would be kind of cool to do. And then I'm going back in and kind of pulling up the water with the paper towel. Now once we've completed that, we can go ahead and move on to our card. I'm using Kraft color cardstock here, and it's 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, and then I'm scoring it at 4 1/4. Now once we've done that, of course, we're just going to fold it in half and use our bone folder across the edge just to make sure we have a nice crease. Then I will take the piece that we've used the stencil on, and I'm cutting it down to 4 1/4 by 5 inches, just so we have a little bit of a border on each side. I'm going to go ahead and apply that to our card base using some Connect Glue by Gina Designs. This is one of my favorite adhesives to use. I, for a long time, was really partial to Tombow adhesive, but I found that I really like this a lot better, and you don't get too much out of the bottle, so that's always nice, and it doesn't clump. For the next part of our card, we're going to be using Neenah Solar White cardstock and cut it 1 5/8 by 2 5/8. The stamp sets I'm using here are by the Stamp Market. The first one is Scripty Sentiments, and then we're also going to be using the stamp set called Poppies. So I'm using a couple of little floral designs out of that set, and then I'm going to use the Oh Hello Friend out of the Scripty Sentiments. So I'm going in here again with Abandoned Coral. I'm applying my stamps to the block, and what I'm going to do is take that and stamp off 2 times onto a scrap piece of paper so that we get a much lighter color from that coral. And I'm going to do that again on the other side. Once I've done that, I'm taking the outline stamp and applying it full strength. So you can see that gives us 2 different shades of this without using separate ink colors. Now I'm taking Seedless Preserves Distress Oxide and stamping that in the middle of our cardstock. So once we've done that, you're going to want to let it dry. With it being the Distress Oxide, it does take it a little while to dry, so it could smudge if you're not careful. So either heat set it or let it dry a little bit. Now we're going to take the Connect glue, add some to the back of this cardstock, and add it to a piece of craft foam. I like using this to add dimension to our card, and it gives a nice even dimension, so you don't have lumpy cards once they've gone through the mail. So the final step in making our card today is assembling it and adding embellishments. As you can see here, I've already gone ahead and created some Nuvo drops. The color I'm using here is the Bubblegum Blush. These are the Crystal Drops Gloss. And I like to do these ahead of time just because I'm always scared that I'm going to touch it while it's still wet and smear it, or I'm not going to like where I originally placed it and I won't be able to do anything about it. So what I like to do is make them ahead of time and apply them with Connect glue. And then as you can see, I like to go in with my Connect glue and I pick each little drop up with my quick stick, which comes in very handy. Then I just press it in place and move on to the next one. And then I just finish it off by gluing that sentiment in place, and voila, we have our finished card. So I really love how simple this layout is and just how fun it is to use blending brushes. Hope you enjoyed these little tips and seeing this new card. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you soon with another video, guys. Bye.